during wars. If there is no answer to that, then I believe I will ask you to join the proposition side, because we have proved that output, which was the main focus, since during wars, output is the one which is declining. Investments, which have been proved to be succeeding with the expansionary fiscal policies. Any PLI?
It's protected technology.
Thank you. That's all.
Good afternoon, judges in the House at large. I am Jemin, the third speaker from the negative side. Well, to make it clear, I regret to say that the government didn't get the whole concept of the motion, especially the third speaker, when she came and asked when she talked about the Great Depression. She did say that Great Depression was due to war. Well, I have an example of a developing country which did face Great Depression, and that was Tanzania in 1978 when it faced Kagera War. In 1978, as soon as the Kagera War was over, Tanzania got a very great economic depression. How? We can see that during that time, when Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere was the president of Tanzania, Tanzania faced many problems, such as the lack of clothes, lack of important materials such as maybe salt or sugar. And this was due to the economic depression, the great economic depression caused by war. So I already gave an example of a developing nation which did get a great economic depression. Well, on the same note, I'd like to tell the government side that the Keynesian economic policies are only used in developed countries and not in developing countries. Why is this? This is due to the fact that the factors causing economic crisis in the developing countries are different from developed countries. In developing countries, the factors that cause economic depression are such as unemployment. And why is unemployment? Unemployment occurs in developing countries due to the fact that most of the people sometimes aren't educated, and not only that, even the people who are supposed to be employing others don't have enough capital to do so. But in developed countries, we can see that the factors,
Mind you that in the world there was only one great economic depression, which was called on World War I. It was worldwide, great economic depression. How can you speak of Tanzania as a great economic depression? That's a lie. You're deceiving this house, sir. Thank you.
No, I'm not. Well, to be sincere, I think you didn't get the whole concept. Back to it, as I was saying, Tanzania did face economic depression, and that was very great. Because we can see at that time, great economic depression is not about the whole wide world. It's just about, it's most probably a nation having an economic depression to the extent that that they cannot survive on as normal basis. Okay, as I was taking an example of. No. Well, the first speaker from the proposition side did talk about inflation of prices. Well, here we can see that due to the Keynesian economic policies, there has been a great inflation of prices. Example, in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
No, in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is a nation that has faced very high economic depression. And why is this? We can see actually even in the present time, just recent when President Robert Mugabe took off his, when President Mugabe retired as the president of Zimbabwe, we saw that Zimbabwe faced economic depression. As you can see that prices of food, basic necessities such as food, clothes, transport were very, very high. We can see that it was said that we can see a clear example that we can see that even the World Bank actually wanted Zimbabwe to change its currency from the Zimbabwean currency to come to dollars. And why was that? It was the World Bank suggested so as to reduce the economic depression in Zimbabwe, as you can see right now. Well, as the leader of opposition said, we can't use Keynesian economic policies in developed countries because factors causing economic crisis in developing nations are different. Example, unemployment, as I talked of it earlier. We can see that the cause of Keynesian economic policies was economic depression after war in nations that were good economically before war. Well, what I'm trying to say is Keynesian economic policies were used in nations that had a good economic status before, but faced economic depression as soon as they were in war and the war ended. Therefore, we can clearly see that we can't use Keynesian economic policies in developing countries. This is because developing countries were never rich. Developing countries have always been poor. And even if we use Keynesian economic policies, we cannot boost these nations coming back to their rich status. And why is this? This is because the factors causing economic depression in the developing countries and in the developed countries are different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That Tanzania is one of the countries which has adopted Keynesian economic policies because it has typically changed its increased investment, increased output, increased income, increased interest. Is Tanzania not a stabilized? Is Tanzania not having a stabilized economy? Thank you.
Well, coming back to your point, I don't want to say that Tanzania has been using Keynesian economic policies. Why is this? This is because an example is in Keynesian economic policies, the government is the one that actually intervenes with the economy. What I mean to say is the government is the one that comes in there and puts the prices for stuff.
Yeah.
In Tanzania, the producer is the one that decides what the price will be and not the government.
Yeah.
So therefore, the Keynesian economic policies are not used in Tanzania. Also, what I want to say is we should, in developing countries, we are not going to use Keynesian economic policies. Why is this so? For example, a person has gone to the bank for a loan so as to increase the capital of his business. Then later finds out that there has been a high inflation of stuff. For example, if I want to build a school and I went to the bank so as to get a loan and build my school. Later, as soon as I loaned the money from the bank, a month later I found out that the price of cement has gone up for about maybe 40%. How am I able to plan? How am I able to come to repay the whole loan when I found out that the money I had planned to borrow is not sufficient for now? It was sufficient before, but now it isn't. Why is that? Due to high due to high inflation. Time's over. So, due to high economic inflation. Well, dear judge, as you can see from our side, we came here and told you why Keynesian economic policies cannot be used in developing countries, but only in developed countries which have faced war. We have shown you why. Developing countries should not be using Keynesian economic policies. We have also, as for the government side, they didn't understand the whole concept and came here saying that Keynesian economic policies can be used by both developed countries and developing countries. Well, Judge, you are the one who will decide who is to win. But as for I think the negative side should win. I rest my case in this.
It's 4 minutes. The speech is 4 minutes.
Okay, let me start with the golden words which was said by the second speaker. A good debater is also a good listener, but he himself wasn't a good listener, as he wanted me to be. So, as a matter of fact, they said that we didn't provide an alternative, but my friend here provided an alternative of invisible hand. And the invisible hand, it was about the Say's law, which said that supply creates its own demand. So that was our alternative, but yourself, you aren't a good speaker, you aren't a good listener. So, by this, the following, dear judge, the government failed to prove to us, and they were instead asking the answered questions, and I wonder what they wanted. So, we answered that we had used the invisible hand, which was a theory which was made by the English economist, says. Another one, that they would have put the consideration of undeveloped countries or developing countries. Because when you look at the Keynesian policy, it is universal, but it can't work in developing countries. That is something that all of you must agree. If you want it or not, that's a fact. And fact can never be changed. And another one, first, if the government could have come with something like, for example, Keynes said that level of employment depends on demand. That theory was complete enough to take us from this side to that side, but they failed. They didn't come with something like that because Keynes said that involuntary unemployment and the labor market brings equilibrium. But they were talking about equilibrium. But how would the equilibrium be brought? They were just beating around the bush, but they were not at the point. That's only one theory. All of us, I swear, me and my colleagues could have shifted to this side, but they failed. But when you come to our side here, we told you why we should not use it. We should not use the Keynesian policy. Because, and first, I thank that speaker. I thank the speaker, the leader of opposition, because she corrected my English, and I'm glad I will be coming for teaching. But that's not the case, we're not for teaching English here. So, we told that the consequences of using these theories, we told you about that. It causes inflammation. Inflammation not only in developing, but also in developed countries. Inflammation can occur. If the inflammation occurs, it brings more depression, more economic depression. And also, the third speaker spoke about the depression. Here, the motion is not about world's depression. Because the 1929 to 1933 was the world's economic depression because the superpowers were in a depression. But when he talked about Zimbabwe, it was relevant because the motion is not specific to speak about only the world's economic development. It was a general. So the example of Zimbabwe is true. It had an economic depression. Tanzania in 1978 after the war, it is true we had an economic depression. And also say that it forms classes. And class formation is one of the outcomes, is one of the negative outcomes of the use of Keynesian policy. And we elaborated them through the second speaker. And I think they are the ones who should be listening properly and getting to the point. And instead of beating around the bush and just using their 7 minutes for nothing. But I think next time we'll learn from that. Thanks.
I'm very pleased and disappointed at the same time celebrating today. The pleasing part comes when the government side have clearly tried to educate the House about the Keynesian economic policies, and I'm pretty sure that each one of us clearly understood what should states adopt Keynesian economic policies. We have highlighted some positive effects that could come to the country if they adopted the theory, right? But the disappointment comes, and the pleasant part also comes that the opposition side, we ask the question that you tell us not to adopt, but you don't give us some solutions. They speak about the invisible plan, or I don't know, and they refer to supply. Let me remind the House that supply aims at increasing output. And increasing output is changing output. Changing output is one of the assumptions of Keynesian theory. So that's so pleasing, right? So this clearly shows that the opposition side, either they were not prepared or they were attracted to our side because we are competent or we can reason better. I don't know, but this debate should go to us. We should take this debate with us at home. They disagreed with Keynesian economic policy, but they didn't tell us what solutions are going to be used to stabilize the economy, to treat the recession. They spoke about invisible plan and supply. Supply is one of the assumptions of Keynes. So I killed that point. I just killed it, and the memory is nowhere to run to, because they spoke about the supply can control the prices and whatever, but supply is one of the assumptions. Mind you that the assumption of Keynes was to increase investment, increase output, increase income, increase interest, changing interest. The aim of changing is not necessarily to increase or decrease. It's not necessary to increase, but necessary to improve, to be flexible. And one of the characteristics of Keynesian theories is flexibility. They are not static, they are dynamic, they can change with time. That's why we use these economic theories with the aim of stabilizing the economy, regardless it is in recession or regardless. And the funny part comes when they speak about inflation and they do not tell the House that the causes of inflation, they just define inflation. Mind you that inflation is caused by a lot of things being price, being shortage of output, and they just spoke about increase of prices. So which kind of inflation are we talking about? Mind you that each inflation is solved with a specific method. The monetary inflation cannot be solved by quantity means of solving inflation. There are monetary policies to solve inflation, but there are non-monetary policies to solve inflation. So when you fail to clearly show to the House that what exactly are you talking about, which inflation, that shows that you are not clearly prepared. But the government side first of all, have framed the debate just the way it's supposed to be. We gave clear parameters that we're talking about developed countries and developing countries simply because Keynesian can work on both. In the developed countries, it can stabilize. In the developing countries, it can stabilize. So I believe we should be taking this debate with us at home. Thank you so much. Lastly, the third speakers talked about migration. Thanks.
Thank you very much. It was a very pleasant debate. We were very happy to hear from both sides, the government and the opposition. We can go back. Yeah, 10 minutes. Maybe watch videos on YouTube. This policy, according to how these days we are saying, it's solving the problem of inflation also. A simple example is the world is running on debt. Some people are saving, some people are spending their money through loans from bank. It reaches a point whereby both sides can pay each other. So that's where the problem arises. That's what these guys were explaining. And also, you could, this invisible hand screen, you could explain it more better. And also, you could rebut whatever these guys were saying, because this is a policy motion. You could swing it either ways. Either ways. You could come here and explain why everything that Kainesian suggested is not working. And as they were saying, it is happening right now. The policy is in use, so sometimes you should get the facts right. The policy is happening. As the demand increases, the government has no money. The government spends money. So you should know factors like those. So for your next debates, please prepare more well. But you guys are very good speakers, I should say. Very good speakers, but today you only lost because of lack of content. So I wish you all the best, all the success in the next rounds. Firstly, and collectively.
If it means to sit with your delegation, please do that, because students are literally slowing down the progress of the tournaments by not paying attention when we're trying to progress. So we will not tolerate students making noise, having their little chats and caucuses while we're trying to make announcements in the front. So teachers, please help us micromanage the students. Thirdly, students can immediately come back to the briefing room when you are done getting your results. This is for your own benefit. I can go back to my hotel room at any time, but you have to go back home. You have to go back to your hotel room. So the more we delay, you get delayed and you will suffer the consequences. So can we try as much as possible to be time conscious for your own benefit? Okay, so the fourth thing is, can judges please stick to the stipulated goal? If after 5 minutes you have not reached a consensus, put it to a vote so that we can run in time. The more you discuss and the more you spend time trying to agree on scores or trying to come up with some imperfect score, we can't progress. So I believe all of you are experienced. This is not the first time you are seen debating. You can do this quickly so that the tournament can run in time. It is the students who will run late if the tournament is delayed. And we don't want any of that on any of us records. So, a few notes for the participants. Number one, please take note that you have speaker roles. Which speaker roles are meant to guide you? Which guidance makes sure that the debate is coherent and is easy to follow and your team's case is accessible? Without the roles, you are giving public speaking speeches on a side of the motion, which is not valuable. So you will not win the debate. So if you have questions on role fulfillment, do feel free to come to us. Or if you wish to clarify anything in the motion, just approach CNP. We can give clarifications of motions. The other thing is, please desist from laughing and grinning and frowning when other children are speaking. You are entitled to believe that the other speaker is doing badly, but try as much as possible not to let your opinions disrupt them, because that is unfair and that is extremely disrespectful, and it's not an environment that we're going to tolerate. So sportsmanship is the foundation of debating, which is why we debate and not have fist fights, even though we disagree on motions. So try as much as possible not to not be debaters and no, this is unacceptable. So if there's any question before we progress to the second round, you may ask now. Participants and judges. Any questions? No questions. Again, I'm going to beg, and I hope this is the last time I'm saying this. Students, please don't delay the tournament by consistently talking and chatting where we want to progress. So the minute I pick up the mic, I expect everyone to freeze, stop what they're doing, face the front and keep quiet. Because that's how we're going to get done in time. Okay, so the draw is going to begin in the next 3 minutes. We have a lot to reflect on. Some teams did it as well in the first round. Please do that instead of making noise and disrupting the tournament. Just be patient, the draw will be out in 2 minutes. I'll take a round of questions if there are any. So after round 2, please come back to the briefing room so we can make announcements for tomorrow. Yeah, that will take no more than 5 minutes. Any other questions? Only way we can do that is to cut down on speaking time for the next round. So, for the next round, we are going to be speaking for 5 minutes. Okay. So, low, you can celebrate at the end. Can the patron for our Montezemolo please assist us? Thank you. Right. The power pairing has been initiated, so you might debate in the same side as the last round. It's not rigging, it's power pairing. You will get to debate both sides of in all preliminary rounds. So, yeah. Can the patron for all please assist us?
Can you guys, okay, anybody who is hearing me right now on the mic, do you want us to start putting a monitoring person? Boom. If you're making noise, they ask you publicly to leave the hall. Is that what you want? Yeah? Alright, if talking continues, what I'm going to implement tomorrow is I'm going to instruct certain gentlemen or teachers of this school to be monitoring you because you are not old enough to monitor yourself when we tell you to keep quiet. Right? He was just giving an important announcement. Right now, you're going to be the same person who's going to be complaining that all are on the same side when he's just addressing it. Right? If you talk, you are either obstructing yourself or the person next to you. The time is out. All you need to be doing right now is keeping quiet and watching. I'll also ask teachers to please assist me in this. If you're around your students or if you're around students in general who are speaking, right? Tell them to be quiet. And honestly speaking, guys, like most of you guys are in secondary school. I don't understand why we still have to tell you guys to be quiet. I don't understand it, yeah? Like I don't understand why you have to tell grown people like yourselves to be quiet.
Okay, so for this round, gold is affirmative and white is non-affirmative. So in room 1, we'll have set your name as affirmative. Please keep quiet. Please keep quiet. Please, I am sincerely begging you to keep quiet. In room 1 and room 2, we've got Marcelo in affirmative and Coutinho in non-affirmative. In room 3, we've got De Bruyne as affirm and Aguero is non-affirm. We've got in room 4, Hazard as affirmative and Giroud is non-affirmative. In room 5, we've got Musa as affirmative and Mkhitaryan in non-affirmative. In room 6, we've got Harry Kane in affirmative and Ozil in non-affirmative. In debate in room 7, we've got Joan Mata in affirmative and Dembele in non-affirmative. In room 8, we've got N'Golo Kante as affirmative and Varane in non-affirmative. In room 9, we've got Lingard in affirm and Pogba in non-affirmative. No, wow, no. Pogba is affirm and Lingard in non-affirmative. In room 10, we've got Lukaku as affirmative and Mo Salah as non-affirmative. In room 11, we've got Neymar as affirmative and Modric in non-affirmative. In room 12, we've got Mbappe as affirmative and Ronaldo as non-affirmative. In room 13, we have De Gea as affirmative and Fellaini as non-affirmative. In 14, we've got Obama Yang as affirmative and Lacazette is non-affirmative. In 50 reform, Bale is affirmative and Suarez. Remember, gold is affirmative and white is non-affirmative. So, did everyone get their side? Did everyone get their rule? Guys, did everyone get their side?
We need a response. Did everybody get their side?
Yes. And did everyone get their rule? Yes. Cool. Judges, please so
I am the today's government leader of the today's debate, which says that this House will require all African schools, both public and private, to provide gender neutral bathroom facilities. You see, what type of motion is this? This is a policy motion. You see, this is a policy motion because there is no vivid example. But not having vivid example, this doesn't show that this debate of today is not debatable. Because the motion of this debate is still happening and it's going to be debated and we can all get a better solution for all of this. Let me first define the common term of this debate today. What is the meaning of requiring? Requiring means including boundary. What's the meaning of African schools? These are all public and private schools that are all in Africa, including Nigeria, Ghana, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, etc. What are private schools? These are educational institutions which do not belong to government but private organizations and people. What are government schools? This refers to the educational institutions which are controlled and owned by the government. What is the meaning of neutral? Neutral is not being on the side. See, not being either this or this. According to this motion, neutral gender bathroom facilities, this means that this neutral gender bathroom facilities do not exactly have maybe a boy gender or a female gender. This includes both. And what's the meaning of gender neutral bathroom facilities? This includes equipment, tools in bathrooms according to the biological differences and role, which includes in both sides. But we at the government side, where is our stand? Our stand on today's debate is that we at the government side are going to provide gender neutral bathroom facilities, Mr. and Mrs. Indicator. And where are our parameters? I think the parameters are made open. Our parameters are based on African schools. And we at the government have revealed ourselves this is a policy motion and it's not yet, there is no transgender in Africa. Hence, within all this, it means that this is not applicable in Africa, but it doesn't mean that there is no transgender in Africa. Hence, we have created our strategies. Our perspectives. We know, okay, let me just get on this. We know the opposition side is going to say that it is hostful. But mind you, as the government side, we have planned the following tactics. We are going to provide enough funds to the public schools to provide the gender-neutral bathroom facilities by increasing tax. And also, we're also going to provide, and we're not only going to provide gender-neutral bathroom facilities, Mr. Educator and Mr. Educator, please, and this you have to hear this. We're not only going to provide gender-neutral bathroom facilities, but we are also going to provide girls and boys bathroom facilities in a different way. There will be a gender and neutral gender bathroom facilities, but also we're going to make it, and we are going to apply to make a different gender, such as boys and girls bathroom facilities in separate ways. Sorry. But how are we going to do this? We said in the first point that we are going to provide funds, right? And also, we are going to apply or enforce strict laws on any kind of immoral act or misbehavior. Any immoral act or misbehavior, Mr. and Mrs. Indicator, is going to be enforced with a very strict law with a heavy punishment. Mr. and Mrs. Indicator, I would like to broadly talk about my argument with today's debate. With today's debate, I'm going to talk about this. It will provide comfort. Since it will not matter what gender or a person will not worry about his or her biological difference or about his or her gender. Mind you, either a person will be a transgender, a gay, a lesbian, or anyone, or even if a person within a male or a female within a particular gender, we both go to that particular washroom or and provide the particular bathroom facilities. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to conclude. I'd like to conclude by saying that this house will by all Africans, both public and private, to provide gender bathroom neutral facilities so that we can create equality. We are going to create equality. We are the government side. We are going to make sure these people are considered and are never left alone. Hence, I raise my case and close the case of the opposition side. Thank you.
We will welcome the next speaker.
Good afternoon once again. I'm here as the leader of opposition side. As the motion has been denied by the government leader, I can repeat it. This house will require all African schools, both public and private, to provide gender neutral bathroom facilities. Hence, I'll start by rebutting the point given by the government leader. She has just said about profitability. How can the gender neutral bathroom facilities bring profitability? Why? It will lead to loss of privacy. People need privacy. Some people need to be on their own. They need to do their services on their own. They don't need to be seen by other people. Okay. I will debate also she said about equality. How can gender neutral bathroom facilities bring equality? Why in Tanzania, in African schools, we still have no equality among ourselves. We still have no equality among women and men. How can we bring equality in gender neutral bathroom facilities? I will stand as the leader of the opposition side in that the government will not support the provision of gender neutral bathroom facilities, but it will establish more bathroom facilities and repair the worn out and the bathroom facilities that will be renewable, will be built again to enable the services to take place. How are we going to do this? By researching on the number of facilities needed. We are going to research on the number of facilities needed in both male and female that will both work on the male side and the female side. Also, we are going to allocate the funds to be used in establishing the new facilities and repair the worn out. How are we going to do this? We are going to look at what measures, for example, creating the new bathroom facilities nearby so that it can enable them to acquire the services. Okay, by starting with my argument, one, it is inadequate of facilities is important. Inadequate of facilities, it is important. Also, no equality. The provision of gender neutral bathroom facilities, it does not bring equality. Since people need privacy to work to provide their self-services on their own. For example, you can't tell me we will get gender neutral bathroom facilities when a man and a woman they both in one toilet. A person needs privacy. Then how can I do my services when another gets in and looking at and looks at me? Also, it will lead to barrage. It will lead to insecurity. How will this happen? Gender neutral bathroom facilities provide insecurity in a way that people will include themselves in matters like raping, whereby they will get interested because they're all in one place, they're all in one bathroom vomit. It will help, this will cause them to have such cases regulating which is against the law of human rights. Also, gender neutral bathroom facilities, it won't be necessary since it will make it is wastage of time. They say that they will establish both toilets that will be for men and for women. But how? How then are they going to do this? It will be wastage of time. We can build the toilets that will both based on female and male, but whereby they will be nearby and they will be supportive and they will be productive to serve their services. Also, gender neutral bathroom facilities, it's minor, it's not substantiated. It's a big picture in adequate of since it does not favor the equality. We African countries like Tanzania, Zimbabwe, and Kenya, and many others furthermore, we have no equality among ourselves. We have no equality between men and women. So we can't establish new bathroom facilities since it does not favor the both of us. Also, establishing of gender-neutral bathroom facilities, it will lead to misunderstanding among ourselves. How can we stay in the same restrooms? How can we stay in the same bathrooms, visiting and doing our services in the same bathrooms, while we all know we need to be on our own, we all know we need to stand up on our own, and after all, it is beyond the cultural African values. Also, dear educators, I would like to say that the government side has failed to show us, the government side has given us the arguments that are not necessary. They are not necessary for the establishment of gender-neutral bathroom facilities. Hence, I raise my case by saying that the government, I still insist, the government won't establish gender-neutral bathroom facilities, but instead it will establish new bathroom facilities and repair the worn out. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nyerere, and I'm here to clarify some few things that the opposition side were just saying. Coming to the strategy, I will not refrain all of them, but I'll just speak about opposition strategies. So please listen to this carefully. Government side will provide enough funds to the public schools to build the gender-neutral bathroom facilities, or to provide gender-neutral bathroom facilities by increasing taxations, whereas we can get enough funds as a government. Remember that African states are developing states. Most of them are developing, so we believe much in taxation. So when we increase tax, we can get funds to provide to public and private schools, inclusive, to build bathrooms. So, second strategy, we are also going to provide not only gender-neutral bathroom facilities, but also girls and boys separate bathrooms. That is what the Prime Minister spoke. And the other strategy, and the main basic strategy was, we are going to apply or enforce strict laws on any kind of immoral act and misbehaviors. This is something that we should note down. Very importantly, the first speaker stood and said, speaking of privacy, when we have already separated a girl from a boy bathroom, listen, gender-neutral bathroom does not simply require or necessarily require a man and a boy in the same bathroom. The fact that it's gender-neutral bathroom, it aims at those people who are neutral, generally referring to fames. Who are fames? Fames are people who, for example, fames are people who, come in there. Fames are people who put themselves or prefer much female, who prefer much female acts or habits, regardless of their gender, regardless of their sex. These are called fames, people who act like women, regardless of their gender. So they can be a male or a female. These people are gender neutral. Because referring back to the definition of gender are defined laws to define this is a man and this is a female. So when you are already a fame, it means that you are gender neutral. So we as the government shall provide gender neutral facility. It does not necessarily mean that me, I'm a man, and a woman doing those stuff together. But it can be provided, the motion is about providing necessary facilities needed for gender neutral bathrooms, not combining a man and woman. So the opposition leader was in the house, speaking of equality, Yes, we admit in Africa there's no equality, but through construction of gender-neutral facilities, of provision of gender-neutral facilities shall promote equality. She has just led me in my very argument. Listen, promote equality. To both gender, specifically things, I've just spoken about things. So those people who are gender-neutral, they can be disregarded. They can be excluded as the whole time of Africa. But this, remember, is a policy motion. We want to change that system. We want to mend it. We want to promote equality. They are also human beings. They are people who are born. They are things, okay, they are the people who are driven by internal factors and external factors. They are people who are hormonically female, but biologically males. They are people who are born male, but the environmental factors, called the external factors, can drive them to act as things. So how do you deal with them? By promoting gender-neutral facilities. To both of them, that is called equality. Thank you. Coming to PI now?
PI.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. By constructing gender-neutral classroom facilities, it will save time to students in cases of populated schools. Mind you, time is a very scarce resource. So when we construct or when we provide gender-neutral facilities, it shall enable students to save time and return back to school and return back to classes. Mind you, time is a very scarce resource and a very important resource. Okay. By not promoting or providing gender-neutral facility, it shall enhance gender segregation. What is gender segregation? Gender segregation is based on the idea that men and women are the only choices to pigeonhole people who, it says here, segregation. Segregation is also wrong because it creates a mentality between the sex and harms gender equality. When we unite all people and do away with gender segregation, then we all build a better society. We all build a better Africa. So I would advise the mission side to kindly move this plenty of space. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I will start to acknowledge what the position leader said. Previously, she gave a stand. Our stand is that we want to provide gender-neutral facilities as a position. But we shall remember this is Africa. The greatest problem in Africa is not gender issues. It's not gender-neutral facilities. It's the number of facilities which are present. There are few. There are schools which don't have toilets, and there are schools also which have worn-out toilets. Those toilets need repairs, and those schools with no toilets need new toilets. Also, the Prime Minister, the opposition leader also spoke about the insecurities and the violation of right to privacy due to the establishment of the medical facilities. So, according to the motion that states this House will require all African schools, both public and private, to provide gender-neutral